our Bordeaux State University parking solution that we've been working on the past 6 days. Firstly, let's introduce ourselves. I will go first. My name is Arthur Kasnoff. I'm class of 2024.
I'm Bridget. I'm class of 2025.
I'm Evangeline, and I'm also class of 2024.
I'm Shayla, and I'm class of 2025.
I'm Ben Emnoff, and I'm class of 2026.
So there will be 3 key aspects that we will be going over today. First is the threat of Boko Haram, the disorganization regarding parking, and finally our solution to that, which we will all be addressing during the presentation. Firstly, Firstly, Boko Haram. So what is essentially Boko Haram as a background? It is an Islamist terrorist group located in northeastern Nigeria. In 2014, they became especially infamous internationally during the Chibok secondary school raid, in which they kidnapped 276 schoolgirls, pardon me. And then on top of that, we also have the concern of the parking lot and how that plays into Boko Haram. We have multiple concerns that have been listed to us by our Nigerian counterparts, which include the risk of parking, how it plays into explosives, insecurity, and various radius and distance issues. But then also on top of that, the issue of just plain disorganization and convenience when it comes to parking. On top of that, we have multiple parts of analysis. We have the strengths, we have the weaknesses, and we have the opportunities, what we can work with essentially in the coming weeks, months, and years. So here are some strengths that we can list about the university from the get-go that can give us a bit of a benefit. The university security team has been very cooperative, and they are willing to work. They're willing to adjust, they're willing to make plans, they are willing to essentially do what is necessary for the safekeeping of the university. That is the very main thing that we are addressing here. On top of that, however, there are unfortunately some weaknesses. On top of Boko Haram, we have also listed various concerns, such as lack of resources, as some of our colleagues have already stated today, and there is also the lack of training regarding other processes as well. This includes, for instance, safety protocols, evacuation, and the likes. So what can we do in regards to that? Well, there are some opportunities to move forward. We can push through with training. As I said again, our Nigerian counterparts have been very, very cooperative and very proactive when it comes to this type of situation and the negotiations and the discussions we've been having over the last few days. And essentially, when it comes to the issue of parking, when it's finding parking spots, creating parking lots and whatnot, there's lots of viable space that we can essentially plan out to make sure that there are designated areas that we can work with. Now, unfortunately, of course, there are still some issues when it comes to parking. When it comes to the parking, we also have to be mindful of various other issues. Again, Boko Haram. The parking will not essentially serve much of a shortstop in the case of direct attack, which is fortunately not happening yet. There are also other issues that we need to consider, such as car theft and pet common theft, which has been especially emphasized by our friends in Nigeria as a common issue, and to that and just a generalized issue of corruption as well. Corruption being the manipulation of certain guards. As much as we would like to train them, they're obviously still going to be humans at the end of the day, and they are still susceptible to various problems, various situations, various poor decisions in that sense of the word.
So as Arthur just mentioned, the problem that we were tasked with is there was so many cars and there was nowhere to park. There was no designated spot for the parking, so cars were everywhere, which caused an issue of disorganization, and the bombs could possibly affect the buildings and the students. And then also Boko Haram and his tactics. So we just wanted to make sure that all the cars have designated space to park. So our solution is, first we identified where the cars should go. So we wanted to make sure that the cars were far enough away from the buildings that the buildings would not be affected by some of Boko Haram's tactics. And then also we wanted to put the parking areas in a spot where it was convenient for students to get, and student and staff to get to their buildings and where they needed to be. And then for the construction of our parking lots, we identified some materials that were simple and we could find locally, since that would be the most efficient option. So we are going to use wooden posts and signage to mark off where you can and cannot park. And then we're going to have the guards being trained and guards in the lots to make sure everyone is where they should be and where they're allowed to be. And we're going to have a 3-month implementation period where for 3 months, it's still like being introduced, so you can't get fined in those 3 months. But after the 3 months, fines will begin to be given out. And then the guards are gonna like make sure that, or we're gonna be training the guards, and we spoke with the team that is in charge of the training to like make sure the guards are being like regulating where cars can go.
So with any solution, you're going to have advantages and disadvantages, or pros and cons. So I'll go ahead and start with the advantages. So our first, the main advantage is just going to be easier identification of cars. So when you're implementing designated parking for vehicles, you eliminate all the clutter that we currently have on campus, and it's much easier to determine when cars are participating in suspicious activities, such as if a car is parked too close to a building, or if the car does not have a parking tag, which our co-team, who's up next, will go further into detail with you about. And then again, so it's easier for our security staff to monitor suspicious activities. Next would be, and our main goal and advantage would be preventing against vehicular attacks and car theft. So, as my teammates have mentioned, one of Boko Haram's tactics that they like to use is installing bombs into cars, leaving the cars there, and then therefore they explode in unfortunate areas. So, if we have designated areas for cars to be that are far away from, or not far away, but strategically placed, that eliminates that threat. And then also, as my teammate mentioned, we have security located at these lots to monitor the cars and make sure that no theft is occurring and no valuables are stolen. And then finally, this plays a larger role in the whole of improved learning environment. So a safer campus leads to a better and improved learning quality. It's easier for students to learn and easier for teachers to teach if they feel safe. So even something that's, I guess you could say, simple as parking, it plays a much larger role in the whole. So those are some of the advantages. And then I'll move on to disadvantages. So as my teammate mentioned, we are all human at the end of the day. So when we are proposing our fine, we feel that maybe some, bribery or some kind of way to bypass our proposed fines may occur. And so that is one issue that we feel we may run into, which I guess if they're paying the security guards to kind of park wherever they like, it defeats the whole purpose of the lot. And then, so these next two play, they go hand in hand, inconvenience and evacuation. So like we mentioned, the lots are placed a little bit further away from the buildings for safety issues, but it poses kind of this inconvenience, just a tad, if you're having to just walk a little bit further every day to get to where you're trying to go. And then if there was an event on campus that required an evacuation, it would again take a little bit longer to get back to your car to exit campus just because of the placement. But again, that is for security measures.
So here's a step-by-step overview or our plan and our thought process. So step one, we're obtaining all the materials. It's mostly very basic, the wooden signs, posts, and some rope to kind of block off the designated areas. The wooden signs we're sourcing from a local small business. And then we're equipping staff with a video on how to kind of establish the parking lot just in case they want a guideline. And we're going to provide staff with measurements of what we think will be adequate parking for the cars that come onto campus, and location that is not only convenient but also secure. After that, we would assemble everything, install the signs across campus. We would install signs designating where to park, but also where not to park. And on those signs, there would be a little note that says, "You will be fined if you do park here." And we would prepare the security staff to manage the lot. And lastly, we would introduce this policy to the students and staff so they're aware of the new protocol. And we would do this First, during the introductory period that my teammate mentioned, so in the first 3 or so months, they would not be fined while they're learning the new system, but after that, if they choose not to follow it, they will be fined. And we will continue to monitor effectiveness there.
So this is our funding plan. Let's see, the main materials, like one of my teammates have mentioned, is we're having 6 signs, 6 poles for putting beams, and then the rope for the perimeter of the designated parking area. It'll be of 210,220 naira, and some of the reasons that I chose these is as they are openly available and very cheap and cost effective. And also that we would use the rope and marine pole as a fence to mark the perimeter. And also, again, one part of the budget is that the fine, we were asking some of the people in Nigeria about what they thought, and they were in conclusion that a reasonable fine would be 2,500 an hour. Misparking.
That's it. Thank you.
Wow, I think this presentation is more than a coffee. I thought I needed more coffee to listen to this presentation, but you guys really keep me awake. I listened to every single slide, and I looked at how it's connected to one slide after another. It's really amazing. You guys have really done a very, very good job. You have justified the argument. You bring all the solutions, and all the solutions are actually visible. It's something we can definitely implement. And taking it into consideration, even though I didn't see, like, I'm expecting to see a picture because we have like so many pictures of Boko Haram, diving into a building. But taking that into consideration is really a big step. Because it happens a lot. Then Boko Haram will come with explosive inside their cars and they will just run into the building. But if they have like a specific area where they have to pack, that means they have, the buildings and the students in the buildings are going to really be safe. So it's a very good thinking that you guys actually thought about that. And again, talking about how the protocols. And when I saw corruption, I was kind of like, okay, where are you guys going with that? So, but later on, you justify it. And definitely that's what happened. Some people, they have a way of buying the security guards, like giving them some tips and stuff like that. So anytime they are coming, they just allow them to move without search. So all these things happen, I know. So, but you guys to put a thought on that, it's really, really, blow my mind. So you guys have really done a great job. Be proud of yourself. Congratulations.
I would agree. I think you did a great job, and it helped me understand how parking related to security. That was not obvious, and the only thing I would say is that when you begin to implement this with the students, I would have liked to heard a little more about giving them the reason for all of this going on and not just giving them rules. People tend to comply a little better if they understand the rationale. Just laying a rule, you're asking for them to violate it because they don't understand the investment, right? But that would be the only thing I would say that you could do that might improve what you already had planned. I thought you all connected, and you certainly started out great, and you told us what you were going to do, and you all connected with us. If you're afraid to get up and talk, and you do it anyway, good on you.
Yeah.
So I think you have a good plan.
I agree with everything they said. I'll add a couple things. Arthur, you started off right. Outstanding. It was comprehensive. Your information was succinct. It was a phenomenal intro. So well done. I also love the SWOT analysis. You did a thorough analysis of each item, and then you applied the findings in the rest of your presentation. Bridget? No.
Amanda.
Yes, sorry. So, nicely done for you. I absolutely love the consideration of the human factor, which is what she was getting at. Although you could have, of course, explained the buy-in a little bit, but at least addressing and acknowledging the fact that this could make life suck for people. In this case, it won't, I don't think. But if it does, people aren't going to want to do it. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss when they're making policy. Excellent use of imagery, photos, and then my last comment would be about the audience engagement. Overall, it was phenomenal. I think that there's room for improvement, and a couple unsolicited suggestions when you're speaking in front of people is you can pick one person on either side of the room and just bounce between them, somebody who's engaged, and that can make it easier because it's like you're just talking to two different people and you're going back and forth, so it doesn't seem like you're ignoring part of the audience. Another thing you can do is just look at people's noses instead of their eyes, because that can make you a little less nervous. But other than that, well done. Thank you.